Well, hello everyone. Wanted to talk to you today on this beautiful day about how you as a young adult who loves God, a person of faith, how do you get popular online or succeed online without compromising your values? So I want to say hello to everyone on Instagram. I've got 3 cameras going here. Top here's on Instagram, right here on Facebook Live, and then down here on YouTube Live. And so I want to talk to you about this, I think, kind of a big problem that I know many of the people that I know deal with, and that is, how do you remain a person of faith, especially as a young adult, and yet grow your online business without compromise? Especially because a lot of young adults, you may know someone in their 20s or 30s, they feel that there are a lot of pressures put on them to do things that cross lines or that they feel that compromise their values, especially their faith values. And yet they really want to change the world. They really want to succeed and make a difference in the world, but they don't always know how to do that. And the reason why I wanted to talk to you about that is because, first, it's been something that I've been through when I was younger, in my 20s and 30s. Second, because, as you know, we have 3 amazing teens, and so they also have been wrestling with these tensions. And then third, because a lot of the young people that I mentor, I have maybe 10 or 12 young adults that I mentor every day, every week, they ask me these questions, and they're concerned. And a lot of the things they say is, Trig, how do I grow my presence and become successful at my business and yet not be judged by my Christian friends or by the church or by my parents who may not totally understand? And then where's that line? Whether they're a female or a young man, where is that line? And I want to say something as far as, specifically, I'm talking to young men and women who have a business, who they may have an online brand. It could be that they're making candles at home, or that they have a fitness company that they want to grow that, or they do makeup tutorials, or maybe they do more of, they speak or write, or they do music. So I wanted to give you a few tips on how to grow your audience as a young adult and not compromise your faith. And so I think the number one thing you have to ask, so I'm going to just put in here, how to grow your audience. Let me know if you can see that. If that's too small, if that's too big, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. If it's good, I'm going to get this closer maybe to you guys. Could be backwards to some of you on YouTube or on Facebook or on Instagram, but I think it's backwards here on YouTube, right? And Facebook, I think it's backwards, right? And then on Instagram, it might be okay. But we'll probably flip this around for the next show. How to grow your audience, and as a young adult, I'm talking about people in their 20s and 30s, millennials as we're calling them, millennials, without compromise, without compromising, I guess, your faith. So that's what we're going to talk about. Very important topic. So I want to give you a few tips on how to do that, okay? So number one, is you have to be clear on your purpose. So number one is, the first tip that I want to give you is, you want to be clear on what your purpose is. And so a lot of the young people that I work with, they their purpose, obviously, is they want to help the world. They want to make people more lean if they're into fitness, or they want to provide maybe guidance for other people in terms of what to eat. They could have a food blog, or they could have a counseling service. And so, but I find that the important thing is to be very clear on what your purpose is. Because when you begin to look into what to do online, you can get really distracted and you can get lost following people that maybe aren't aligned with your purpose. And so, how do you find your purpose? Well, I usually use three things to finding your purpose. I call it ACL. The first thing on how to find your purpose is to ask yourself, what is the adventure that I'm on? What is that adventure that I am pursuing in life? In other words, adventure talks about something that you've wanted to do since you were a young man or woman. Second, I talk about how to find your purpose is, what's the crisis that I've overcome? Or I call it the grace in my crisis. How have I found grace in the middle of my crisis? Every teacher, everyone who is inspiring other people, they've been through a challenge. You, I'm sure, you've been through many challenges. And so the way to find your purpose is by first being clear on your crisis, but then thinking about, how did you find grace? What I mean by grace is, how did God get you through that challenge? And what did you learn from that challenge? And then the last one is, who do I love? And you can also put in here, what do I love? But specifically, I like talking about, who do I love? And what I mean by that is, when you're trying to find your purpose, you want to be really clear on who is the person that you love. In other words, who are you trying to help? What do they look like? What is their age? What kind of challenges do they face? And here's a quick way to find that out. Start with who you are. Because the best and the most effective teachers are those who can speak out of their own life experience. So they're teaching and helping other people because they themselves have learned a ton of stuff. And so if you notice the title of this particular stream, I called it, How Do You Help Young Adults Succeed Online Without Compromising Their Faith? Well, that's because those are the people that I love. It's because, as I said at the beginning, I have been in that situation when I was in my 20s and 30s. And even to this day, I face that. I also have teens, and they're dealing with that. A lot of the young people that I mentor, they're young adults, millennials of faith, that are trying to make a difference in the world through social media. And so the way that you get clear on your purpose is, you want to think through the adventure that you've been on, the crisis, and what's the grace, and then who do you love? So that's number one. If you want to be a person, a young adult, a millennial, who is making a difference online in the world through social media, but you're concerned about compromise, first you want to get clear on your purpose, because your purpose will help you clarify why you're doing what you're doing, who you're connecting with, and what kind of things you post online. Okay, number two. I have a few tips here. Number two. Let me get some water here really quick. All right, and some snacks so that we can talk and help you in this topic. Okay, number two. Put this over here instead. Number two is you want to look at who do you follow online. Okay. And I would say second is not only, I got ink all over my hand, so give me a second here, I'm going to clean that up. All right, I'm back. Cleaning up the ink mess. Okay, so who do you follow and why? Okay, who do you follow and why? So one of the things that I try to help young people figure out is to discern who you're following online. Now, if you are older, if you're a parent of a millennial, or if you're a grandfather, or if you're a millennial yourself, you have to know that most of the learning that young people do today is through what they see online. I know that makes a lot of sense, and that's sort of a duh kind of statement. But I think a lot of people, they really think that kids today are learning somehow maybe through the news or from people, teachers or professors, or even from their parents. Yes, their parents will definitely be a positive influence in young people's lives, but you have to know that 90% of what young people are pursuing, or they're tailoring their content around, are people online. So that's why if you're a young person, you want to discern, who am I following? What are they into? If you have a young adult who is wanting to be successful online, but they don't want to compromise their beliefs, and yet they don't know how to balance the two, you want to think about, especially if you're a young person, you want to ask yourself, who am I following online? Who are my heroes? And then you want to get clear on what about them, in other words, why. So, for example, I have a friend who is a fitness specialist. And so the people that she follows are obviously other successful fitness experts on Instagram or on Twitter or wherever it may be, in Snapchat. And so it's important for that person, for you as a young person, to ask yourself, okay, what about that do I like? Why am I following that person? Now, there are probably 3 reasons why young people today follow people, follow others. First is for inspiration. Second is, and this could be good or bad, but it just is, it's for comparison. And third is for connections. And so if you're a young adult and you're trying to figure out, how do I grow my online presence and not compromise my faith, is you want to discern, who are you following? And then to ask yourself, okay, is this person inspiring me? Do I feel like this person is helping me be a better person, a better human? Or maybe they're giving me great examples of how to teach or how to help other people or what to post. Second is comparison. And this is the one that you want to guard against, because when you as a young person begin to look at somebody else's body or at somebody else's statistics or followers, it's very easy to be discouraged, to feel like you're not good enough, you're not as popular or as big online. And that can be very defeating for a lot of young people, a lot of millennials. And then third is you want to then ask yourself, are there connections that I'm making here? Is this a person that I can follow on Instagram especially that can open doors for me? Can I join their meetups, or can I go to their trainings, or can I go and they're maybe doing a conference? A lot of times these days there are a lot of cons, as they call them, beauty con and video con, and basically there are conferences around these important themes. And so A lot of young people today, a lot of millennials, the way that they learn is by going to these conferences, and those connections are made online. And so you want to ask yourself, who am I following online? Are they inspiring me, or are they discouraging me? Is it a good comparison, meaning they're inspiring me to work out more, to eat better, to speak more eloquently, to dress a certain way, or is it making me feel inferior, insecure? And then lastly, is the connections. Are there connections that I'm making there? Are these people that can help me connect and to network with industry leaders, with people that will help me, that will help further my career? So I'm talking about, if you're just joining us, talking about a few steps that I want to give to you. If you are a young adult, or if you know somebody that's a young adult, maybe you're the parent or the grandparent, or you are related to someone who's a millennial, a 20 or 30 something, and you're a person of faith. You want to grow your online business, your online presence, but you worry about people's opinions, especially of the church or your friends or even your parents. So how do you then balance those two things, and what do you do to still be successful? So we talked about, number one, about knowing your purpose or your why. In other words, understand clearly what you're doing and why you're doing it. Number two, we talked about, and then we talked about how to discover your purpose. Number two, we talked about who do you follow online to basically audit or be discerning, or to begin to analyze who are you following and why. And then third, the last one, and I think this is really the most important tip, and that is to take more risks. Now, I have a few things that I want to say about risk, but let me just say something here that's going to be very important. I think that we sometimes, maybe as parents, obviously I'm not a millennial, I have children that are millennials, and I work with a lot of millennials, as I mentioned, that follow my stuff, or that give me the opportunity to speak into their lives. A lot of millennials of faith, they really want to do things for the right reason, but they often feel judged by the church, by their parents, by religion, by the standards of their particular home church. And I have many stories of young people who don't know what to do with it. They want to honor God, and they want to really serve their church, their parents. They want to honor their faith, but they see what's out there as far as what can make them successful. And as I said, they don't know how to balance those two things. And so what they end up doing is one of two things. Either they hide their true page or their true Snapchat or Instagram feed from those authority figures, and so therefore they're living kind of this dual life, or they sort of begin to just not care and say, well, I don't really care what people say, I'm going to just be me. And so is there a middle ground there somewhere? Well, I think that more than a middle ground, what I recommend is to actually take greater risks. When you change your mind towards away from fear towards faith, or away from fear towards risk, you're going to make mistakes, there's no doubt. But what's going to happen is that you're going to actually be more certain of what you believe and why you believe it. When you take those risks as a young person and you begin to experiment, let's call it. I know that can be a scary word for a lot of people, but when you begin to look outside of the normal stuff that you do, or the normal stuff that you post, and you begin to take a step forward and you say, you know, maybe that isn't quite me, but I'm going to just see how I feel about it. I'm going to talk to my parents about it. I'm going to talk to God about it. I'm going to have a kind of a calculated risk, I'm going to take a step forward, then you might make a mistake. You might post something that isn't exactly you, but in you taking that risk, you're going to learn a lot about who you are. And then it gives you an opportunity, if people do judge you, to explain to them why you took that step. But if you, as a young adult, as a millennial, or again, if you have a child who's 20 or 30 something, and if you basically train them to live in fear and to never take risks, or you're constantly judging their non-Christian posts, you're going to quench that spirit that's in them. And so when I talk to young adults and they are open with me and they begin to just talk to me about these things, I don't discourage them from trying new things. Especially if I see that they really love God, they love their families, they love their parents, they're trying to do the right thing. Most young people today, they're getting negative feedback, and a lot of times they're feeling condemned by everyone. And so the only places where they feel a little bit more normal is online. And so instead of having that disconnect, what I recommend is to try to bring both worlds together and to openly talk about the calculated risks or the adventures that you want to be on, that you want to go on, and to actually have a conversation with those that you love, those you admire. Now, some people won't accept anything that's not just the typical faith, spiritual post. They want you to post verses and to have pictures of you reading the Bible. And that's all that they want to see you doing. They don't want to see anything that is like those people out there. And yet, as I said, those are the very people that sometimes are inspiring you as a young adult. And you feel like you want to be trusted with your own discernment, that you have a brain and that you can make the right decisions, even though sometimes you may make some mistakes. But the more that I read the Bible, the more that I study the people of God, the more that I look at life, including my own, I realize that God works through our mistakes. And that the people that really lose at life are those that either are trying to be perfect and therefore have to hide their imperfections from God or from friends, and never can be honest with what they really want, with their desire to be successful, to have a bigger online presence, to maybe even, let's just say this, change aspects of their body. I'm not talking about doing things that, as I said again, that go against your beliefs. But I'm talking about being able to talk through those things with your kids, if you're a parent, or if you're a millennial, things that you feel. And to say to your friends, say to a mentor, you know, here are the things that I'm feeling, that I'm struggling with, and I don't know how to balance the two worlds. And so when I talk to young people, to millennials, excuse me really quick there. Had to clear up a little bit of a mess. When I talk to young adults, or I'll do a conference, or I will do a one-on-one consultation, I help them take what I would call God adventure risks, to live out their God-given adventure, versus reduce them to what the church says, or what your parents say, or what morality may say. Now, as a parent, I'm not against advice. Of course, that the advice that I give to young people is to honor God, to honor their parents, to think about the church, obviously, but guess what? A lot of the young people that I talk to, they are already doing that. And in fact, they're overdoing it. And so they struggle with this tension between wanting to honor God and wanting to also grow their online business or their online presence. And so when you're helping people, young adults, to grow and to be more connected and to feel like they are being heard, you want to help them take what I call God-sized risks, where they can really feel that they can take that next step. And if they make a mistake, oh, I shouldn't have posted that, or maybe that wasn't quite the right idea, or maybe that relationship wasn't the right relationship. If you establish those connections, and if you can talk together with your parents, with your family, then you can have that openness. And you can say, here's how I felt. Or I don't know exactly what to do here. Can you help me? Or maybe I have some friends who are asking me questions. I don't know the answers. Can I bring them over to our house on Friday night so we can talk? That is what the young adult wants. That is what you as a millennial, if you're a young adult here, that is what you long for, is for integration, for connection between all of your worlds. So encourage your young person, if you are a parent, to take God-sized risks. Engage with them. If you're a young adult, look for people that are encouraging you to take God-sized risks. Now, how do you know what is a God risk versus a not God risk? Well, you go back to the first things I said. What is your purpose? Who are you following? What are the things that you're feeling when you follow a certain person? Are these things building you up? Are they discouraging you? Are they building you, or are they tearing you down? Are the people that you're following, the people that you're hanging out with, are they people that are lifting you up? Do you have safe places where you can be yourself, where you don't feel condemned, you don't feel afraid, but you can be you? Do you have mentors that are people of faith, but that are taking risks in the world? Don't you think that we need more men and women of God who are taking risks? Absolutely. Isn't it powerful when you hear someone that is maybe on a stage or speaking at a commencement, or they're online, and they're men and women of faith who honor God, who love their lives, but who are taking risks? Is there anything more beautiful in the world? And that is what young adults want. They want to be those people who are taking those risks for the glory of God. And so don't discourage them. Don't keep them so bottled up that they feel like they can't breathe. They can't be themselves. And so this step of taking more risks, to me, is really the most crucial one. And one that I think more and more young adults need to practice in a safe environment. I'm not talking about wild risks without connection, without relationship, because obviously there are dangers, and you can go off the deep end, and you can lose control. But what I find today is that millennials, one of the things that they've taught me is that they want that connection. They want to go back. They want to turn backwards and say, hey, mom or mentor or friend, sister, brother, what do you think about this? I have a lot of things that I'm reading, or my Instagram feed or my Facebook page, or people that I follow are doing this and that and the other. Maybe I want to travel, or I want to go even and go and hang out with this mentor, but I don't know if that was the right thing. Can we talk that through? That is so powerful. Millennials, young adults, they really want to experience the world. They're not just about, like our generation, about just working hard and providing for your family and building a house and having a mortgage. It's not even about the economics of that. They really have different priorities, because a lot of that stuff is unavailable to a lot of millennials, and so they want to experience the world. They want to see what's out there. And they want the mentorship at the same time. They want that guidance. They want someone to go back to go home to talk about the risks. And it's not easy. If you're a parent, it's not easy to let your kids take risks. It's something that I think for most of us, we want to avoid them making mistakes. And we don't want to see them fail. But what's going to happen if we continue to control our youth or our millennials or our friends is to divide, is to cause this division between them. Instead, look for connection. Encourage their adventure. Encourage their creativity, their freedom. Be in their lives. Have relationship. Open your home. Have meals. Have a breakfast together with young people. If you are a young adult, look for places where you can learn, but not just the traditional stuff of don't have sex, don't do drugs, and go to church. Every young person knows that, and they may have already experienced those things, and now they're looking for second and third chances. So if you are an older person, be a mentor that encourages young people to take risks. And maybe if you don't like the word risk, because you think that's scary, use the word adventure. To go on a God-given adventure. What is your God-given adventure? What is that purpose, as those of us of our generation call it? What is your purpose? For young people, purpose isn't their pursuit. They're not looking for purpose. They're looking for an adventure. They want to experience life. And so ask them, what is your adventure? Where does God fit in? What do you see for yourself? Don't ask him, what do you want to do with your life, or what do you want to study? That's how we grew up. Because you go to work, you go to school, you build your house, all this stuff. And those obviously are still important things. But the way you want to interact with a young person today is you want to say, what are you pursuing? What, even more than your dreams, is more, what is the freedom that you're looking for? What is the adventure that you want to live on? What is the thing that you're looking to do in this world? Who are the people that you love? What are the places that you want to eat at? What are the countries that you want to visit? What are the fashions that you want to wear? Who are the athletes or the online stars that you want to be like? And don't be afraid of that. Instead, engage and ask, what is the purpose behind it? What do you see in them? And then through that relationship, be able to bring guidance and mentorship and truth and explain to them, what does God look like to them in their world in 2017 and 2020 and for the rest of their lives. That to me is a true sign of a mentor, of a parent or a spiritual leader. And if you are a young adult, I hope that these tips can give you the confidence that you need to persevere and to not have this double life where you're hiding things and you feel like you can't be you because of fear of judgment and condemnation. So, my name is David Trigg, and I encourage you to subscribe if you haven't been here in a while, or if you're new to me. I give these talks regularly here on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Subscribe to my channel. If you're on YouTube, make sure that you click the subscribe button. If you're on Facebook, make sure that you click notifications on. If you are on Instagram, make sure that you follow me there as well. And my hope is that you will be able to encourage your young people. And if you are a young adult, that you will feel encouraged by these tips on how to be a person of faith through social media without compromise. How can you shine online through your interest and your passion, be able to build a business, be able to create without fear that you are somehow discouraging or that someone else is upset, that God is mad, or that your parents are just disappointed in you. So my hope is that you will encourage other people to watch this. Share this video with people that you love, especially if you have kids or if you are a young adult and you have friends. You can follow me on Instagram, also on Snapchat, David Trigg. You have all the links there. So share this video, subscribe, and I want to just tell you that if you are a young adult, that I really have a heart for you. My heart is to see more and more millennials shine for God, to be encouraged to live out their God-given adventure, to find grace in your crisis, and to discover who you love. So thank you again for watching, and make sure that you follow me here next time. Okay, see you later.